Is weird, odd, strange, or just plain bizarre is really your cup of tea? Then the Golden State Media Concepts Weird News Podcast will give you that fix. Can't believe it? Well, listen for yourself as we deliver the strangest news you definitely won't find on CNN or Fox. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Weird News Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the GSMC Weird News Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Sarah, and I'm just going to jump right in here with our first story because it is baffling, fascinating, weird, as is the theme of this podcast. So let me just tell you that there is a conspiracy theory that Morgan Freeman is actually Jimi Hendrix. And there is a side-by-side picture of Jimi Hendrix along with a current picture of Morgan Freeman. I don't know. But according to online conspiracy theorists, Morgan Freeman's sudden rise to fame in the 1970s occurred after Hendrix supposedly died on September 18th, 1970. Okay, well, the theory does have some holes. As one online user points out, Freeman started his acting career as an extra approximately 5 years before Jimi Hendrix made his first public appearance. Also, Freeman was in the U.S. filming Caught in the Middle, while Hendrix was busy touring Europe shortly before his death. That would make Hendrix's transformation into Morgan Freeman nothing short of miraculous. But let's see how exactly this theory plays out. So James Marshall, aka Jimi Hendrix, who was born Johnny Allen Hendrix, wow. Okay. Was born on November 27th, 1942. He died September 18th, 1970. He was an American guitarist, singer, and songwriter. His mainstream career actually only spanned 4 years, which is crazy when you think about how famous he is. But he's widely regarded as one of the most influential electric guitarists in the history of popular music and is one of the most celebrated musicians of the 20th century. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame describes him as arguably the greatest instrumentalist in the history of rock music. He was born in Seattle, Washington, and began playing guitar at the age of 15. In 1961, he enlisted in the U.S. Army. He was granted an honorable discharge the following year. Soon afterward, he moved to Clarksville, Tennessee, and began playing gigs on the Chitlin circuit, earning a place in the Isley Brothers backing band, and later with Little Richard, with whom he continued to work through mid-1965. He then played with Curtis Knight and the Squires before moving to England in late 1966 after being discovered by Linda Keith, who in turn interested bassist Chaz Chandler of the Animals in becoming his first manager. Within months, Hendrix had earned 3 UK top 10 hits with the Jimi Hendrix Experience. Those were Hey Joe, Purple Haze, and The Wind Cries Mary. He achieved fame in the US after his performance at the Monterey Pop Festival in 1967, and in 1968 his third and final studio album, Electric Ladyland, reached number 1 in the US. The double LP was Hendrix's most commonly successful release and his first and only number 1 album. Which, again, crazy that he only had one number 1 album, as just well-known as he is, as talented as he was. The world's highest paid performer, he headlined the Woodstock Festival in 1969, and that's where we get that incredible version of the Star Spangled Banner. And he headlined the Isle of Wight Festival in 1970 before his accidental death from barbiturate-related asphyxia on September 18th, 1970, when he was 27. Okay, so those are the basic facts as we know them. Now here comes the conspiracy theory. So he the theorist or the theory goes, how did he, Jimi Hendrix, go from being recognized and awarded a medal in the Army to just shortly after that being discharged by his superiors who claimed that he was not fit to serve in the Army? Well, they are calling BS on this and speculate that he was recruited to be a spy. Jimi Hendrix, a spy. Okay, now let's get with the Morgan Freeman basic facts. He was born June 1st, 1937. He's an American actor, film director, and narrator, and someday I would just like him to narrate my life. But Freeman has received Academy Award nominations for his performance in Street Smart, Driving Miss Daisy, The Shawshank Redemption, and Invictus, and won the Best Supporting Oscar in 2005 for $1 Million Baby. He has also won a Golden Globe Award and a Screen Actors Guild Award. He has appeared in many other box office hits, and he was injured in an automobile accident near Ruleville, Mississippi on the night of August 3rd, 2008. The vehicle in which he was traveling, a 1997 Nissan Maxima, left the highway and flipped over several times. He and a female passenger, Damaris Meyer, were rescued from the vehicle using the jaws of life. He was then taken via medical helicopter to the Regional Medical Center in Memphis. Police ruled out alcohol as a factor in the crash. He was coherent following the crash as he joked with the photographer about taking his picture at the scene. His left shoulder, arm, and elbow were broken, and he had surgery on August 5th. Doctors operated to repair nerve damage on his shoulder and arm. On CNN's Piers Morgan tonight, he stated that he is left-handed but cannot move the fingers of his left hand. He wears a compression glove to protect against blood pooling due to non-movement. His publicist announced he was expected to make a full recovery. Meyer, his passenger, sued him for negligence, claiming that he was drinking the night of the accident, but the suit was subsequently settled. Okay, so now... here comes the conspiracy theory once again. The question is, so what does Morgan do today? Well, he owns a bar in Memphis that plays live music. Go figure. That's it. That's really all they have. That's the entire theory. I love that. They don't give you any other corroborating facts. Nope. No. Yeah, and there is a note at the bottom of this that says, update. We have updated the headline and opening of the article to make it clear that while the theory that Jimi Hendrix and Morgan Freeman are the same person is entertaining, it is extremely unlikely to be true. Well, I love that they had to update that, and that they had originally just presented this article as a, researched, founded theory. I don't know. This is hilarious. People have too much time on their hands. Also, if you're going to have a conspiracy theory, you really have to put more effort into it. This is like bare bones. Okay, so you've got one person who died, one person who didn't die. They're 5 years apart. I don't even know. I just think that our conspiracy theorists need to do better. You can do better than this. If you're going to come up with a conspiracy theory that's as entertaining as Morgan Freeman actually being Jimi Hendrix, then you have got to put more effort into it. So their whole theory is Jimi Hendrix was possibly, they think he was recruited to be a spy, and Morgan Freeman owns a bar. Disappointing. Very, very disappointing. But, mildly entertaining. I think that somebody should do a better job on this. This should be like some kind of a satire or a spoof. It could be a short story. It could be a novel, frankly. It could be a miniseries, a movie, a Lifetime movie. Maybe it should be a Lifetime movie. I don't know. I'm just grasping at straws here, but I think that my ideas, if you fleshed them out, could be better than this very sad little conspiracy theory. Again, people, do better. Do better. And this actually has been going around for a while, so there has been time for people to do a better conspiracy theory. I'm sorry, this has been happening. This was suggested over a year ago, and you haven't taken the time to flesh it out, come up with better ideas. I'm not really upset. I really don't think that, there should be more work done in this. I'm just disappointed that you were going to make this crazy claim and then not even try to fully convince me of it. I'm going to take my disappointment into our first break. When we come back, we'll be talking about a guy asking for beer and ending up with something a little bit unexpected. So stay tuned. You're listening to the GSMC Weird News Podcast, and I will be right back.
Check out the show built around the women of MMA. From the UFC to the extreme cage fighting, we got the fights covered.
Listen.
It's the Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast. The latest news of upcoming fights, discussions of previous matches. Join us as we talk to and about the biggest names in women's mixed martial arts, past, present, and future. When it's the women's fight game, you know where to listen to. The Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast.
Welcome back to the GSMC Weird News Podcast. We are moving away from conspiracy theories, well-researched or not. And this one tells us about a football fan whose name is Carson King, who was being silly, trying to make people laugh, and ended up on TV holding a sign asking people to send him money for beer. He didn't actually expect to receive anything, but in just over a week, he actually raised more than $1 million and is now donating those funds to a children's hospital. He's quoted as saying, "I was hoping to make a couple of people laugh. I never expected to be on TV and definitely did not expect anyone to send money." Referencing a beer brand, Mr. King's sign read, "Busch Light supply needs replenished," and gave his username for mobile payment service for the mobile payment service Venmo. Wow. When cameras caught sight of the sign on September 14th and broadcast it across America from the Iowa Hawkeyes and the Iowa State Cyclones game, viewers at home began to send him money. Who does that? Are you really that supportive of his beer drinking? I don't know. Okay, you really like Busch Light? When the cash flowing into his account hit $600, Mr. King conferred with his family and tweeted after the game that he decided to donate all the proceeds, minus the cost of one case of beer, at least it's only one case, to University of Iowa Stead Family Children's Hospital. He told Sky News, "I was hoping, best case scenario, someone in the crowd sees the sign, gets a laugh, and sends $20 for a case of Busch Light. But then to go from that to over $1 million in contributions, $1.065 million in total contributions, including matches from Busch and Venmo, is amazing." So you just never know what's going to turn out to be, you just never know. It just, he says, it just shows that once people hear about a good cause, they are willing to help. Although almost $700 just for beer, I don't know if that's incredible or inane, but then once it became for charity, then it went from almost $700 to over $1 million. King, who is going to accept donations until the end of the month, told Sky News he chose the family hospital because they do amazing work for everyone in the state and country for that matter, saving lives and giving hope to thousands of families. He said, "I just wanted to help in any way I could." As mentioned, both Venmo and Busch Light pledged to match the contributions, which meant his total funds burst through the $1 million mark on this past Sunday. On Monday, the Iowa State University fan tweeted, "I still can't believe we hit $1 million yesterday. We're sitting at over 1,065,000 in total contributions to at UI Children's after at Busch Beer and at Venmo match our contribution. Hashtag for the kids, and we're not done yet." The Children's Hospital, which overlooks the football stadium, replied to him on Twitter saying, "It feels surreal to us, too. We can hardly believe what's been accomplished in just over a week." It followed an earlier message from the hospital thanking people for their donations. In recognition of King's actions, the beer company have offered the 24-year-old a year's supply of beer and delivered bespoke cans designed to include a picture of his face with his name and the words "Iowa Legend" emblazoned across them. The man, the myth, the hashtag Iowa legend, they wrote on Twitter with a picture. Reflecting on these events, King said, "To go from a joke to raising this much money for a great cause is great. It restores your faith in humanity." It does. It restores my faith in humanity. I mean, it went from very silly to me being amazed that people would send hundreds of dollars for beer. I shouldn't be amazed. People are very strange. But then to go to over $1 million in donations to a children's hospital, I think this is one weird news story that, it can warm my cold, dead heart. It's neither cold nor dead. Maybe just a little. But let's move on to other stories not involving beer. Maybe they will. Who knows? Let's see. We're going to do some more animal stories because I love the animal stories. And this one is another raccoon. Ooh, it's another raccoon. It's another Florida story, but this is not, Florida man, Florida woman story. This is Florida raccoon story. And this Florida raccoon decided somehow, for some reason, that he would take a little ride on the top of a bread truck. He went for a 16-mile ride on top of a Florida bread delivery truck that reached speeds of over 50 miles per hour during the trip. What did this little guy hold on to? The driver of the Wonder Bread truck said that other drivers called his attention to the raccoon on top of his truck after he had already driven about 10 miles. So then he called 911 from the parking lot of a fast food restaurant. Police said the driver attempted to get the raccoon to safety by pulling the truck up to a convenient tree branch, but the animal refused to climb down. He was having fun. He was like, "Come on, I'm going for a ride. I don't want to get on this boring old tree branch." The driver said he eventually had to drive the final 6 miles of his journey with the raccoon still riding on the roof. Aw, adventure raccoon. He said the animal eventually apparently climbed down on its own once the truck was parked at the company's headquarters in North Fort Myers. Or maybe the raccoon just needed to get to North Fort Myers. He was like, "This tree branch is great, but I am not getting off yet. I have not reached my destination." Police, it turns out, in Wisconsin were more successful last week in coming to the rescue of a raccoon in a different sort of predicament. Although I don't know if this raccoon really needed rescuing. He seemed to have made up his mind as to what was going to go on in his day. But the Madison, Wisconsin Police Department said that a police officer and an animal control officer were able to coax a raccoon out of a tree to remove a jar that had become stuck over its head. That one did need to be rescued. But Florida raccoon is just, he's a Wonder Bread truck surfer. He needed to get to North Fort Myers. He had errands to run. He had a business deal to make. I don't know what was going on, but he needed that, and he was not getting off on some dumb tree branch 6 miles away from his ultimate destination. So go, Florida raccoon. You are my new, I don't know that you're my new hero, but you're definitely one of the coolest raccoons that and I don't know you, so I can't even say that. One of the coolest raccoons I've ever heard of. And again, as I always say, I think half of these weird news stories should end up as books. This one would make a great children's book. The raccoon could have a name. He could go on adventures. He could hitchhike his way various places. He's not really hitchhiking. He's more stowing away on various different kinds of trucks. And he could go different places and, he could solve crimes. Or he could, I don't know, he's got to go on adventures of some sort, right? This needs to be written maybe in those hours that I keep wasting between midnight and 6. It's a phrase my dad always says, "Stop wasting the hours between midnight and 6. I should be writing Florida raccoon truck stowaway adventures. And then I can say that it all started with the Wonder Bread truck and the Florida raccoon. I'm going to go work on that. Let's go ahead and take our second break of the podcast. When we come back, we will be wrapping up this episode with a few more weird news stories. So stay tuned. You're listening to the GSMC Weird News Podcast, and I will be right back.
This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
Welcome back to the GSMC Weird News podcast. Before the break, we were talking about Florida Raccoon and his Wonder Bread truck riding adventures, And, we do a lot of Florida stories. There seems to be a lot of weird news coming out of Florida, but I feel like there's a lot of weird news that also comes out of Michigan. Am I just getting that mixed up with all the other M states? I don't know, but our next story comes from Michigan, and this is from September 20th, and tells us that a Michigan police officer responded to a late night call and ended up getting way more than originally bargained for. So the Shelby Township Police Department said Officer Fedig responded to an RV storage lot Wednesday night after a security guard called in a report of a python on the loose. Okay. That's one moment when I might think, this isn't what I became a police officer for, but maybe that is what you become a police officer for. Rogue pythons. I don't know. Honestly, if it was a different type of snake, I would probably be a little afraid, but I've dealt with pythons before, Fedig told WXYZ TV. Fedig said she arrived to find the snake had slithered into the engine of an old Corvette parked in the lot. How did she find it? Did she, track it? Did she have a python sniffing dog with her? How do you find a python that's slithered into the engine? It's at a storage place. She says one of our detectives brought a box and actually brought one of the dog bowls. They were like, I'm not touching it. I'm like, it's no big deal. I picked it up off the car and put it in the box. Fedig said the python is believed to be an escaped pet. It's probably either an escaped pet or they didn't want to feed it anymore and just turned it loose. She said they liked the heat. I knew if it stayed out there long, it wouldn't survive long. It was cold last night. Police said the python is now in the custody of Macomb County Animal Control and will end up at a local rescue if its owner can't be found. Well, python, we wish you the best of luck because you either escaped and, went on your own adventure, or you were turned loose because your owners, you got too big or your owners couldn't feed you anymore or what have you. Who knows what really happened, but hopefully, so far, this python has had a bit of a happy ending. Got to check out a Corvette. Didn't get to drive it, didn't get to go for a ride like the raccoon, but it got to have a little bit of adventure, and now maybe this python will find a loving forever home that will take it in and give it lots of mice or something to eat. I know that's how it works, and I don't have a problem with it, except when I think about it happening in captivity. It freaks me out a little bit. Like snakes hunting, totally get that. Snake in a terrarium, and then you just throw in a rat. Maybe it's dead, maybe it's frozen, maybe it's alive. I don't know. It's like, yeah. Speaking of weird news, your host is weird. I have issues. It's okay. I'm working on it. Our next story also comes to us from Michigan, but it is not an animal-related story. No, we have moved on to the record-breaking, record-setting portion of our podcast, and this says that Guinness World Records has said a Michigan company's bid to set a new world record was successful when it amassed a ball of lint weighing in at 690 pounds. Okay, I have some questions before we even get into this. Who was the first person that was like, I have this giant ball of lint. I wonder if anybody else has a giant ball of lint. I wonder if my giant ball of lint is bigger than their giant ball of lint. And then who called up Guinness Book of World Records and said, hey, I have this giant ball of lint. Do you want to come out and verify that it's the biggest ball of lint that anyone has ever had? And then who else decides, I want to break a record. Let's look in the Guinness Book of World Records and see what we could do. Lint. Everyone start cleaning out your dryers. I don't know. Let's read on to see what this article says. But I just had to ask you my questions. These are the things that keep me up at night. Dryer Vent Wizard. Dryer Vent Wizard of Farmington Hills. Already see my questions are being answered. Dryer Vent Wizard of Farmington Hills, and this again is in Michigan, said it started collecting lint from its locations across the country earlier in the year with an aim toward assembling the world's largest lint ball and then lighting it on fire. Because we can't just accumulate, we have to light things on fire. But okay, this makes so much more sense if you are, if your name is Dryer Vent Wizard, then lint is right up your alley. It So the company predicted the ball would weigh near 1,000 pounds, easily meeting the Guinness goal of 99 pounds. Oh, and the final product was officially weighed at 690 pounds. Still almost 600 pounds, beating the original record, or the standing record by almost 600 pounds. And then the ball was ignited after the official weigh-in, and the flames were extinguished by the local fire department. Again, see, now I'm just thinking you're a member of that local fire department, and you're like, all right, honey, I gotta go to work. We are extinguishing a giant ball of lint being set on fire today. Some days you just don't know what your work day is going to bring, right? There are definitely worse things than going out and dousing a giant lint fire. I wonder if, though, lint, that air was probably really not breathable. I mean, I'm just thinking of all the lint particles in the air, and obviously the firefighters are in their firefighting gear, but the onlookers are just standing there. I think everyone should have worn masks. Do I think too much? It's possible. I'm okay with that. One final story. We are moving out of Michigan, but we're sticking with that Guinness World Record theme. This one takes us to Indiana, and instead of a giant ball of lint, now we have papier-mâché sculpture. And this is an Indiana University Club created a 14-foot tall papier-mâché sculpture that is being submitted to Guinness World Records for recognition as the world's tallest. So I'm looking at the picture, and from the picture I have no idea what it is. I'm not sure what it is. Let's keep going. The Indiana University South Bend Fine Arts Club said its 14-foot tall sculpture made from old Martin's Supermarket's comment cards. That's interesting in itself. And 60 gallons of wheat paste is over a foot taller than the current Guinness World Record holder. Martin supplied the cards to the club and asked for them to be turned into a work of art. So that's cool. You got to get rid of them. Do we want to recycle them? What do we want to do with them? Let's give them to the art club and see what they can do with them. When we brought it to the club, we told them either way it's going to happen. It's too good of an opportunity for our community. We have to make this happen some way. Everyone in the club was about it. We all voted. It was unanimous we were going to do it. This is from Colton Sizer, president of the Fine Arts Club. He made this comment to WBND TV. Sizer said paperwork and other evidence is being submitted to Guinness to have the artwork recognized as the world's tallest papier-mâché sculpture. So it's an art project. It's a local, it's a community project. I still don't know what it is. I like that it's made of old comment cards. And I wonder if they read the comment cards while they were using them. I mean, that's got to be a lot of... It's 14 feet tall. How many comment cards was there? Sometimes articles just don't answer the questions that I have. I want to know how many comment cards are in this 14-foot tall sculpture. I want to know what the sculpture is. Or if I'm just dumb and I can't figure it out. So many questions. I have questions, and that is maybe why I host a Weird News podcast. I really don't know what to tell you on that. Do I have questions because I host a Weird News podcast? Do I host a Weird News podcast because I have questions? I don't know. Let's just do one more quick story before we wrap this up. And this is about cheese, because it's cheese, right? And a celebrity French chef has sued Michelin Guide after being demoted. Why was he demoted? Well, apparently it's because he used cheddar. A celebrity chef, as I said, is suing the Michelin Guide because he claims his restaurant lost its 3-star status for using cheddar cheese in a classic French dish. The chef is Marc Veyrat, and his restaurant, La Maison des Bois, near Grenoble in the French Alps, was demoted to 2 stars in January without warning, just a year after the restaurant secured the industry's highest award. The Guide, which is the standard bearer for the world's best cuisine, has not yet explained the demotion, said Mr. Veyrat's lawyer. However, the chef himself says an inspector accused him of using cheddar in a cheese souffle rather than French reblochon, Beaufort, and Tome varieties. Maybe that's what happened. Maybe that's not what happened. The chef, who is 69, said it was a fromage faux pas from a man with an unsophisticated palate. That's so French, isn't it? A fromage faux pas. I'm just picturing a very indignant French chef. I put saffron in it, and the gentleman who came thought it was cheddar because it was yellow. That's what you call knowledge of a place? Okay, so it wasn't even cheddar. It wasn't even cheddar. He put saffron in it, and it turned yellow. Anyway, he said it's just crazy. It's worse than a wound. It's profoundly offensive. It gave me depression. It gave me a depression. I'm sorry for his depression, and I don't mean to laugh, but I can't stop picturing like a really stereotypical angry French chef. He did make his name by championing his so-called botanical cooking using wild herbs gathered around his restaurants in his native Haute-Savoie region. He's famous for wearing a wide-brimmed black Savoyard hat and smoke-tinted glasses. He has previously won 3 stars from the prestigious Red Book for 2 other restaurants. He learned of the downgrade without any notification or advance warning, his lawyer Emmanuel Ravanas said in a statement. Well, hopefully they can get this sorted out. Was it cheddar? Was it saffron? Was it something else entirely? Why did he lose that 3rd star? I do not know, but it was a fromage faux pas, and I'm going to start using that in regular conversation. So if you know me, watch out. Fromage faux pas coming your way. On that note, we are going to wrap up this episode of the GSMC Weird News podcast. Please join me again next time, because I'm sure weirdness will happen over the weekend. Thanks.